My name is Macailla. If you know me, you probably know how amazed I am by anatomy. And this year, and this picture God has given me, has only increased my love for it. And so this skeleton represents me, and on me there's a lot of flesh. And I'm going to tell you how God stripped me of these things and replaced them with himself. Starting up top, we have depression. I sat in a lot of anger and sadness about the experiences I encountered and felt hopeless about having any sort of future. But replacing it is the wonderful counselor who showed me joy and hope by healing my wounds through prayer and revealing himself to me through small encounters, showing me that he cares for me. I realized that I thought I had to do everything by my own strength because no one wanted to help me or could help me the way I wanted it. Which is when Amanda showed me the Hebrew word that translates to helper in times of distress. Leaning into that word in prayer helped me understand that I didn't have to do it alone, and God hears my cries and reaches out. Then there's anxiety, these pesky ones that keep falling. I woke up every day with this immense weight on my chest, worrying about how I can make sure nothing bad happens to me that day. With that, the Prince of Peace showed me that he has a plan ready for me. I just have to obey his word and stand on the strong foundation he is building around me, like it says in Matthew 7:24. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. He also showed me that he is in control, and I don't have to plan every step of the way. I was searching for relief, and Matthew 11:28 pointed to that possibility. It says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Now here is fear. I was fearful of going in public alone, so I didn't. I was fearful of someone saying something that would hurt me, so I stayed away from people. But my protector showed me I can trust him by bringing me to Psalm 118:5-9, which says, "Out of my distress I called on the Lord, and the Lord answered me and set me free. The Lord is on my side, I will not fear. What can man do to me? The Lord is on my side as my helper. I shall look in triumph on those who hate me. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes." Lastly, we have loneliness. I spent so much time isolating myself from people because of hurt. I felt abandoned and unloved. But the lover of my soul met me there and reassured me that he would never leave me or forsake me, and nothing could separate me from his love, like it says in Romans 8:38-39. He also showed me how he could love me through community. Coming to bow down, I was brought into a family that was so gentle and willing to love me for who I am and not for what I could do for them. Now, here are a few more exciting things God gave me this year to grow me. He revealed spiritual gifts that he has given me. He has shown me visions as a way of speaking to me. And he brought a few of my old outreach kids back into my life, which meant the absolute world to me. God has replaced the flesh that hold me down with beautiful new life. There are still a lot of fleshly things that will come and go, but now when they surface, I know who to lean on, and they don't have power over me anymore. So this has been the hardest year of my life, but also the most transformative, as you can tell by my skeleton friend here. So a little backstory. From the moment my sister found out what 516 was, she was telling me I should do it. I definitely didn't want to do it, and my response to her every time was some form of the words, "Shut up." After about a year of me saying no, she finally stopped asking. Instead, she goes straight to the current 516ers and has them start praying for my mind to be changed. I still said no, but eventually she gave up for about 6 months. By that time, I realized how lost I was, and if I didn't try to do something different, I would be lost forever. So I took a leap of faith. Not long after I made my decision to do 516, my sister had a dream about me that we interpreted as God revealing to her how the year was going to go. And I didn't realize until halfway through how accurate it was. In her dream, we were on, wait for it, a roller coaster. There were these things that kept getting in our way, and people all around trying to convince me to get off the ride. But she kept saying to me, "Hold on to the handlebar. If you know anything, it's just to hold on." The dream really worried me, but I tried to remember to hold on. Leading with the roller coaster theme, the year started off on a high. I was learning so much about God and who he truly is, and not the person I assumed he was. I grew up feeling things deeply and wanted to be able to help people and make sure it's done well. But that harnessed a lot of anxiety. And I started reflecting my earthly relationships onto God, thinking he was hard, impersonal, and didn't care to hear the deepest depths of my heart. Believing those lies led me to daily anxiety and fear. I had accepted that I was an anxious person, and there was nothing that I could do about it. But God showed me this year that the Prince of Peace, that he is the Prince of Peace, and he is in control and wants to hear my heart. When I started praying for peace, he answered me many times by lifting the weight of anxiety off my chest and bringing me people to walk with me through these situations. A few of them are standing right there. Then I learned that being anxious isn't a part of my identity, and I renounced that lie and asked God to forgive me for believing it for so long. That's when I felt the real change. I now know that God did not create me to bloom anxiety. He created me to bloom love and peace. Then, just 2 months in, comes the drop. The only uncle I have passes away suddenly. My family had never lost anyone, so this was a completely new and shocking situation. I felt so much sadness and like I had forgot everything I'd learned so far. And knowing I had to go back to a normal 516 schedule felt impossible. I was so close to quitting so that I could comfort my family when God reminded me of my sister's dream. Just hold on. It still hurts today when I think about him, because I know how excited my Uncle Joey would be to see how much God has grown in me this year. But I know the right decision was to stay. And then going back up, God brought some kids from my old outreach to Twin Lakes when I was volunteering. I met these kids about 3 years ago when I was at the height of my depression. I had a falling out with some new friends that caused the deepest forms of rejection and shame I'd ever experienced, which left me feeling completely unlovable and worthless. At that time, I started volunteering at Rosemary Village on 8th Street with PBA, playing basketball and helping with homework. I started making connections with kids, and it quickly became the only thing I looked forward to in my week. How could I be so miserable in my own life, then step into this community and feel so much love and joy? This year, when I stepped back into the community, I started to feel the same way I did the first time, and I realized God was showing me his love through these kids. When I brought this 3-year-old burning rejection into inner healing, God told me that I was his precious little girl. I had to learn to receive his forgiveness and understand my worth in him and not in what others say I am. This just goes to show that God can use things that seem unrelated to bring lasting healing. Because the day after my inner healing session, one of my boys from Rosemary, that was my right-hand man, showed up, and he still recognized me. My heart exploded with joy. To me, this taught me that God sees the depths of our hearts and gives us personalized healing. And he also showed me that this now 15-year-old boy was proof that my time at Rosemary had not been wasted, and he has much more to come for me. After this, I feel like I was on a happy upward trek for a few months, learning so much about who God has truly made me to be. To my surprise, I learned how much I enjoy being around people and living in community. It's one of those things that didn't happen in a moment, but it's one of the biggest changes God has done. Ask anyone. I used to hate being around people and wanted to just be by myself. I thought that people were annoying and would always disappoint me and would always look down on me if I did something wrong, so I stayed away from everyone. But then I learned the depravity of human nature, and God's grace is what I and everyone around me is given. So I slowly started to realize that I don't have to expect the worst of people, because his grace is sufficient enough. Then another sudden drop hits. One of my new brothers, Javaris, fellow 516 member, passes away. I am filled with complete shock, but also pure joy. He really lived his life surrendered to God, so I have full confidence that he's kicking it in heaven right now with Jesus. We're coming to the end of the roller coaster now, and I can't tell if I'm excited to get off or ready to go again. All I know is that I held on, but God also held on to me, and I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you.